Scenic Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin has rolled out the welcome mat for the cars and stars of Pirelli Gt4 America. Just a few miles down the road from the scenic village lies one of the finest road racing facilities in North America, Road America, America's National Park of Speed. Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is in the pit lane as we get set for the first of two races this weekend at Road America, the 7th and 8th of the season for Pirelli Gt4 America. Fantastic racetrack, fantastic grid of cars, 38 set to do battle here at Calvin, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But first, for late developing stories down on the grid, let's check in with Amanda Busick.
Well, good morning, guys, and I can tell you if qualifying this morning was a little bit chilly, it is not now. I can tell you we can feel the heat out here. The humidity's high, the temperature is rising. But I want to point out the 16 entry of the AM category, Chris Wilson and John Allen. They are third overall on the grid. That's 10 spots higher than the next AM entry. You also see in that orange Mercedes, that's your points leader in the silver class. But I love it. We've been talking about the power of the BMWs here this weekend, so it's no surprise that you have two BMWs leading off the grid here today in the GT4 class. But what I love right here, Stephen McAleer, it's his birthday today. I talked to him prior to the race and I said, what gets this race win? He said, well, it's very different conditions than we saw this morning. I'm going to just try to hold on, create pace, and make sure I hand this over to Toby in the lead.
Thanks, Amanda. And yes, conditions definitely a storyline, Calvin, because when we went qualifying earlier this morning, not only was it cooler, the track was still fairly damp from some rain overnight and into the morning hours, so very different conditions now as we get set for the race.
Yeah, the pole time by McAleer was about 9 seconds off what was set in the second session here this morning, so it was definitely a drying circuit. Add to that, we had a red flag, so it was limited track time, so really experience got to the top. There was Stephen McAleer getting that flyer in and claiming that pole position, but great to see him, Grohovic. They're third in the points now, missed the opening rounds of the championship, but definitely have the momentum right now.
This is a look at the Road America circuit. 14 turns, just over 4 miles or 6.5 kilometers making up this fantastic and world-renowned racing venue, Calvin. It's a great challenge because you have such a mixture of high-speed and low-speed corners.
You do, and long stretches, obviously, from the last corner up over the start-finish line. That's about 4,400 feet. You got a big run from turn 3 as you finish sector 1 there down towards turn 5. But big, deep braking zones as well. So high-speed nature of the race circuit, a lot of elevation changes, 20 stories of elevation change on this circuit, believe it or not. And obviously that final sector there, climbing the hill, you got to exit that final corner, turn 14, to get the exit speed there and maybe in position to make a move on that front straightaway into turn 1.
Amanda made reference to this car. Chris Wilson with a great job in qualifying to start third overall and on pole in the AM class for the third time this season. It's an interesting grid because, yes, there are multiple classes, but they are broken down by driver ratings, not by a different type of car. So in the case of an AM entry like this one, if they put in a great result, they can be fighting for an overall podium.
They certainly can. That's what makes it so spicy in terms of when you get that mix up with the driver change that will happen halfway through this event. Mandatory pit stop between the 25 and 35-minute mark of this race, and the pit stop delta here today, the minimum stop time from pit in to pit out, including that driver change, is 86 seconds. So all of these teams are typically well versed, but we've had a big break, Brian, in the action, nearly 3 months. So may take a little bit of time to get these teams back onto that stopwatch and getting it really close, which can make a big difference in your overall position as to how effective you are executing that pit stop here today. Everyone's
chomping at the bit to get going and get racing around this 14-turn road course. And let's take a tour of the track with Jan Halen and our Porsche track preview.
Hi, this is Jan Halen with the Porsche track preview here at Road America. Coming onto the front straightaway, getting ready to start a lap here at Road America. Long straightaway and a long ways from the start-finish line into turn 1. Always makes for a lot of good action at the start of the race. 6th gear, 162 mile an hour, down to 4th gear. Really fast turn 1, using all of that exit curb. Really fun corner. And then into turn 3, late on the brakes, down to 2nd gear, and then getting ready to set up for a really good exit onto that long back straightaway into turn 5. Getting ready to go under the bridge here, and this straightaway is all about setting up for a late deep braking into 5. Lots of good overtaking opportunities here. Hard on the brakes at the 200 sign. 6th gear all the way down the first. Sharp left-hander and then up the hill into turn 6. Very short tap on the brake here. Car gets really light on the exit of the corner. And then into turn 7, just a short lift. Back to power. And then flat out down the hill into turn 8. Braking right at the 200, down the 2nd gear, using a little bit of that curb at the apex, and then ready to enter the carousel. Long sweeper right, 4th gear, really fast. Really fun here in this Porsche GT3R with all that downforce, and then exiting the carousel, setting up to enter the kink. Kink is one of those famous corners here in America. Really fast, 5th gear, 137 miles an hour at the apex. And then down into Canada corner. Braking's going to be right at the 300. Again, a good place to make some moves. Hitting that apex curb and then again using all of that curb on the exit. And then setting up for Billy Mitchell. Super fun corner. Blind on the entry. And then using all that curb on the exit. Late on the brakes for turn 14. Making sure we set up for a good exit. And then onto the front straightaway. And that was a lap here at Road America.
Thanks to Jan Heylen at Wright Motorsports for that high-speed tour of Road America. And Calvin, the thing that stood out to me, how many times did he talk about fun corners? There's so many of them around this place. It's one of the reasons drivers love coming to Elkhart Lake.
It's such a big lap to put it all together, certainly in qualifying, but just a great raceable track as well. We talk about long straightaways, big heavy brake zones. That's where you can make some moves. Certainly into turn 1, even though the speed entry there has certainly increased over the years with the grip from the Pirelli P0s and how effective these GT4 cars are in terms of downforce as well. But down into turn 5 is a big one, down into turn 8, and certainly Canada corner is not so smooth down into Canada turn 12, so that's a great one to maybe have an opportunity to sneak down the inside.
As the grid scrolls across the screen, a few storylines to highlight. One, Amanda made reference to the strength of the BMW M4 GT4. 5 of the top 8 in qualifying, Calvin, are that BMW platform, and maybe some of that has to do with the conditions, but we look at this track layout and we do think, yes, there is a lot of equalization with balance of performance, but this should be a track that suits that platform.
It should. I mean, long stretches, over 4,000 feet, 3 times you hit in terms of run, acceleration run around this circuit. So that will certainly be a good opportunity for those BMWs. But you also need a car that's going to be really good over the long run here today. So doing it over 1 lap is very different to maintaining that tire performance and not having too much tire degradation over the long run. Same set of Pirelli P0s have to finish this race, so there's no tire change during the halfway point. What these opening drivers leave their partners is what you got to finish the race with.
Another couple of storylines to keep an eye on. The Pro-Am points leaders, they've won all but one of the races so far this season in their class. Matt Travis and Jason Hart, they start all the way back in 9th overall, 3rd in class. And then the 10th place starting car, let's welcome Conquest Racing back into the championship. It's a great debut from them with Mackay Stevens and Colin Mullen, last year's GT4 Sprint X Silver class co-champion, part of that driving lineup. It's a great program. We expect to hear a lot more from them in the years to come, with a big commitment from Eric Bachelhart and the rest of that team. But we're coming through turn 14 here for the final time under pace car speeds. The Lamborghini Urus safety car has already departed the racetrack, and the field is under the command of Stephen McAleer, the pole sitter in the classic BMW number 11. CCR Racing Team TFB's Tim Barber starting alongside. Row 2, the M-Class pole sitter of Chris Wilson from Capstone Motorsports, and Kenny Murillo from Murillo Racing in the orange Mercedes starting 3rd and 4th. It's that long crawl waiting for the green flag, and there you see McAleer pushes the loud pedal. Green flag waves, and we are racing at Road America.
Yeah, he timed that to perfection. Got a little bit of a jump there on Barber, and he leads the way. He's being able to go on line there and kind of arc into this corner. Chris Wilson down at the inside of Murillo there. 52 machine having a good run. That's Tom Capizzi.
Looking to the inside of Murillo is Capizzi. The red nose on the front of that BMW drops a wheel off, has to back out of it, and is swallowed up as a result. It's 3 wide further back in the field, sweeping through turn 3 for the first time.
Yeah, really tight there down in the entry of turn 3, one of the Mercedes almost got in the grass there, but everyone's through there clean so far. So up front, it's Mackler continuing to lead from Tim Barber, jostling for positions behind. Looks like Wilson has got that third spot. Here comes John Miller down the inside, almost gets into the back of the Mercedes.
Kabisi goes wide, able to wrangle that car back, but he's going to lose his spot in the process. Wilson has consolidated that third spot overall, but he's not racing for class position, as Amanda talked about, way up the order as far as the AM class is concerned. He'll turn that car over to John Allen at the pit stop. McAleer able to get away here in the early stages. Barber slots in second. This is the best fight here at the front of the pack with Kenny Murillo on the charge, but trying to hold off John Miller, who's on the charge.
Here we go. This is the difficult part of the racetrack. The commitment needed here through this long sweeping carousel corner. Pirelli P0 should now be coming up to pressure, up to temperature. And then you've really got to train your brain to be confident and committed here through that high-speed right-hand kink. A little bit more concrete to work with on the exit, as you see there, and that's Miller, I believe, off and back on. Probably target fixation there from behind. You look at these other cars up ahead of you, having a moment. If you lift off, it sometimes loses your grip and performance from the car underneath you.
Dexter Racing on the attack. The brothers Dexter, Ryan and Warren, sharing that gray and blue Aston Martin, number 062. John Miller on the defensive after that scary moment at the exit of the kink, but he gets away with one at a place that isn't usually that forgiving.
Yeah, trying to get his tires cleaned up, probably something else in the car needs cleaning up as well. That was a scary moment for him, and there's a couple other cars that went off behind him as well, but settling back in now. He's going to be defensive here up this front straightaway, be proactive in picking that line. But here comes that BMW power, getting around Kenny Murillo very easily there.
How about that first lap from James Clay, who makes the pass on Murillo, up one more spot. He's up to 4th. That car started 8th. So the veteran James Clay behind the wheel on the charge here early.
Bimmer World Machines very fast here this weekend. Auburn will start from the front row tomorrow in the sister car. James Walker had a nice qualifying run here this morning as well. He's started from 11th. Drop back a couple of positions here on this opening lap, however.
Looks like John Miller still trying to defend from Ryan Dexter, who gets the start in the Dexter Racing Aston. It's not been the smoothest of weekends for John. Some travel snafus. He lost his bag, so he's using entirely borrowed gear, none of which fits, he tells me. But he's just happy to be here racing at one of his favorite tracks. Right now, though, he's got his mirrors full. We drop a little bit further back. This is a car to keep an eye on. Sean Quinlan behind the wheel, but his co-driver Greg Leafouche secured the pole for race 2. Meanwhile, an Aston off to the right of the screen.
Yeah, I think that may be Paul Terry possibly off on the exit of turn 5. And you saw Quinlan there very deep on the brakes. He may have gotten into the ABS there, and that allowed Tim Pappas to make that move on him.
Paul Terry co-driving with Brandon Davis, and you do see damage at the front of that race car, and you have to wonder where that came from, who might have some damage at the back of a race car as a consequence. And WR Racing Team entered the weekend in the thick of the points battle, but not a good start here, and same can be said for Harry Gottsacker making his return to the championship. This is the car that usually Joe Rubo shares with Ryan Eversley, and that might go some way to telling us exactly what happened to Terry as we go full course yellow for the first time here.
You would assume that maybe Terry got in the back of Gottsacker, and I was pretty excited about that combination of he, Gottsacker, and Tyler Maxson sharing that car, two really fast young drivers, filling the slot of Eversley and his typical partner. So not great to not see Eversley and company out here this weekend, but I thought they were going to have a great run, but so certainly early problems for them with him stuck in the gravel now.
That will cause this first delay of the race, full course yellow, with just over 5 minutes, just under 5 minutes gone in the early going. And look at, you can see it on the graphic there, James Clay up 4 spots at the beginning. Bryson Liu also very impressive. Welcome back to the championship to Bryson, who had to miss the last couple of rounds with some medical issues. Those have been sorted, and that's great news, and he picked up a bunch of spots there on the first lap, now running 13th.
This is bad news for Chris Wilson. What he really needs is a really good green flag run here. He's got that slot, sitting in 3rd overall, maintaining that AM lead, the class lead, but he wants to come into the pits and give John Allen a nice handy buffer to work with, and that just keeps getting erased here with these cautions potentially.
Let's take a look at the start of the race. It was a great jump by the pole sitter, Stephen McAleer, as is his right, and that leaves everybody else scrapping for position further back. It was pretty clean on that opening lap, Calvin, although there were some close calls.
Yeah, you see here 2-3 wide there coming down into the brake zone for turn 3. A little bit deeper in the pack. One of the Mercedes almost got in the grass there. Right there, just trimmed the grass edge, but kept it together, didn't get to the side of anyone. And down into turn 5. Look at that, nearly in the back. Wilson may have nudged him just fractionally, but Kenny Murillo gets on the power early and maintains that 4th position.
He did for the moment, ultimately fell victim to James Clay, but look at these scary moments. A couple of BMWs offline in the kink. You can see some tire tracks. That's been done before this weekend. I think fortunate that the sun has come out and dried the grass there, Calvin, because that is a treacherous part of the racetrack in good conditions, but if it's wet through there, you're just hanging on.
Yeah, it's one of those ones you're trying to survive and grab the T-shirt from a moment like that, but looked like everyone got through there pretty clean. Everyone settled back in. Took a while to get those tires cleaned up for John Miller, so he's got a little bit of a chance to reset here, think about what his car's balance is. And coming through that corner, you need so much focus, Ryan, to hit your marks, hit your turn-in point, get to that apex. And if you're just distracted suddenly with a car up ahead of you, having a bit of a moment, so easy to follow suit and go off the road yourself.
We called attention to Matt Travis starting in the 9th spot, and you can see he's dropped a couple of positions here in the first lap and a half before the full course yellow. Now sits in the 11th position overall. That's a Pro-Am pairing. They've been the dominant pairing of the championship to date, but qualifying did not go their way in either of the 2 qualifying sessions earlier this morning, and they've got their work cut out for them to still score a lot of points. Now the good news is they've got a very healthy points lead coming into this weekend within their class, but they're out to try and pick up race wins. They're not one to wait around, are they?
They're not, but I think for them, they have so much experience. I mean, it's really a cut and paste scenario with them from what they had in 2019, 2020, with just unbelievable starts to the season, and they've always come up that little bit shy, but they've got a 70-point lead right now. They have to realize that this is maybe not the perfect match in terms of this race circuit and that Porsche that they drive, so it's all about damage limitation. Just try and score as many points as you can.
Here's Harry Gottsacker able to make his way back to the pit lane, as you can see sharing there with Tyler Maxson. Harry does have plenty of experience with ST racing in this car. Maxson does not. He's been primarily racing touring cars here and in other championships. Getting the call up to join ST Racing for the weekend. It's apparently a one-off as far as we know. And this is a pairing that both of us thought had a chance to be pretty special, but not off to a good start here, and it looks like possibly problems with the tire. So you talked about the pit stop earlier. This will not count as the mandatory pit stop. Normally you do not see tire changes, but you are permitted to make a change if there is damage or a puncture or something like that to the tire in question.
Yeah, mechanics having a good look over here. The high-speed nature of this circuit, you certainly want to make sure the car is safe for Harry to get back out there once we go green flag, running again. See any language that seems to indicate that there's anything too amiss there, but we'll have to wait and see.
Doesn't look like any bodywork damage either. The dive planes are intact. The splitter looks all right. So that is encouraging. It's just going to be a long recovery drive here for the rest of the 50 minutes and change, and it looks like dropping a lap. That's what's going to prove to be more costly.
Yeah, really, that's disappointing, but it takes a while to get out there safely, get the car extracted, and then get back to the pit lane. Long lap here, just over 4 miles. So they'll probably use this as a bit of a test session, see if they can tune on the car a little bit and make it a little bit stronger for tomorrow. Grid position's already set for tomorrow, of course, so fast lap and things like that don't matter today.
Mentioned it somewhat at the start as the Bimmer World team looks on from their pit wall, but the Conquest Racing addition to the lineup here, and Mackay Stevens making his debut in the championship. He's partnered with Colin Mullen, who paired with Jared Andretti last year, and they won a championship in Pirelli Gt4 America together. But this is the first race weekend for that tandem and for that team, and Mackay got a great start, jumping up a couple of spots. He runs 8th right now.
Yeah, they got to be happy with that. Eric Bachelot is the team owner for Conquest. He's excited about this program, and two really tremendous young drivers. Both have been part of Jeremy Shaw's Team USA program, and I believe there's a young Canadian driver, Marco Kasich, who's going to be running the rest of the year in place of Mullen. But just a great start for them, and let's see if they can get onto the podium here in one of the two races this weekend.
Kai Stevens is an interesting story, 29 years old from Evanston, Illinois, and had this ambition to be a racing driver. He was actually working construction and mentioned to a coworker that that was the dream, and the coworker told him, well, go do it. Find a way to make it happen. And he was late getting into racing relative to many of his peers, but was found, as you mentioned, by Jeremy Shaw and went through that Team USA scholarship, finished third in the very prestigious Walter Hayes Trophy. Part of that scholarship is getting to run Formula Ford races over in the UK and going up against some really established talent from Europe in those races in the UK, and really represented the United States well, did some open wheel racing, but's been out of it for a while, and then this opportunity more or less came out of the blue when John Farrow, who is really the financier behind this, decided he wanted to support young racing drivers and effectively had a shootout. 6 drivers came to the shootout, and 3 of them were selected. You mentioned Marco Kasich earlier, and who we expect to see, but then Stevens and Mullen also distinguished themselves, and so they've been doing some club-level racing over the last couple of months in a build-up to this, and they plan to be full season next year.
Yeah, it's great to see that with someone who obviously has a passion for racing and for cars that the owner does, to give these young drivers an opportunity, because it is so difficult. It's hard to maintain that momentum. Even Colin, coming off a championship years, his entries into races this year have been somewhat sporadic. So great to see him have this opportunity here today, and he'll be chomping at the bit here to get behind the wheel and maybe push that car even further forward.
Had 4 wins and 11 podiums last year to Colin Mullen, paired with Jared Andretti. That was in a McLaren. They are racing here this weekend in a Mercedes-AMG GT4, and that's the plan for the foreseeable future. And I had a chance to chat with Colin a little bit earlier in the week, and he said, well, having some GT4 experience didn't hurt, but these 2 cars couldn't be a whole lot more different.
Yeah, and that's a big adaptation that you have to do. And but when you're not running regularly, you're just going to grab it with both arms and embrace it and just figure it out. It's sometimes as a young driver, you're given these opportunities and you have to shine. So Colin will definitely be up to that task here this weekend.
Did get an update from Amanda in the pit lane from the ST Racing side. There is some concern that perhaps there is some damage to the exhaust on Harry Gottsacker's car, so they'll be keeping an eye on that. Still not entirely sure what led to the incident. We only saw the outcome with Paul Terry and Harry Gottsacker stranded there, but it would seem like likely there was a coming together of some kind.
Yeah, they were separated by a couple of positions on the grid. Paul Terry qualified 12th overall, and Harry was 14th. So we'd have to assume maybe a little bit of argy-bargy down there in the brake zone for turn 5, Ryan. And if there's exhaust damage, maybe just got punched in the tail and resulted in front-end damage to this WR Racing Aston Martin. But shame to see them both having drama. And as we can see, this car, which as you said was in the thick of the points championship battle, is not going to score points here today. You have to do 75% of the race distance to be classified.
I'll have to go back to work and get that car turned around. Hopefully repairs can be enacted and they'll be able to race again tomorrow. Shame we didn't get to see their full potential here today. Just about 15 minutes in to the race, and hopefully this cleanup is just now wrapping up. But going back to the leader of this race, Stephen McAleer, he'll be turning that car over to Toby Grahovic when the pit stop takes place. And this pairing made its debut back at Circuit of the Americas, and it was kind of a one-off deal at the time, but they've been really strong together as we anticipated. And that was one, and we've talked about it several times throughout the season, Calvin, when that pairing was announced, everyone stopped and took notice, and we're starting to see some of those results that we were expecting from those two together.
Yeah, they went third, second, then a win. So, and they didn't enter the first 2 races. So they're very strong. I mean, Toby has so much experience. Stephen McAleer, you put him in anything, he's always going to run at the sharp end of the field. So they're going to be tough to beat here today. But, you know, everyone's going to have to execute and do the job, and there's a lot of really strong cars out here this afternoon.
No question about that. This class, Pirelli GT4 America, has become just such a good proving ground. I talked to Brian Putt. He's currently in 14. He drives with Pitt and Cook, and he was pointing out that GT4 America has turned into just an interesting mix for some drivers like Brian. He says this is a destination series. This is where I want to race. But looking around, there's a lot of young pros that are trying to make their way into GT3 racing and everything in between. And it's proven to be fascinating all season long, watching the ebb and flow between the Pro-Am lineups and the Silver lineups, and then even having some really fast AMs mixing it up at the front like we see with Chris Wilson right now.
Well, the cars are fun to drive. There's always great competition. The fields are deep. I think that really hits a sweet spot in terms of the budget that it takes to run a GT4 car versus a GT3. And also hats off to Jack Baldwin, who just does a tremendous job as class and series manager here to really focus on what the teams need, what they want, and keep them happy, and it's really resulting in massive fields here.
Lights are off on the safety car, so we are about to go back to green. It was a great initial start from Stephen McAleer. We'll see what he can do on the restart, or if perhaps Tim Barber learned a little bit of something from that previous exchange. Then it's James Clay, one of the biggest movers of the race so far, lurking just behind in the white and purple BMW. And don't forget about Kenny Murillo in the orange Murillo Racing Mercedes, running in 5th. Another strong start from McAleer, but Barber is within striking distance, and he's in the slipstream, Calvin, as they roar towards turn 1 under the green flag.
Yeah, about 2 car lengths back, but I'm not sure he's going to be close enough as they hit to the brake pedal. Side by side here again, that Mercedes is a little bit vulnerable there. Down this front straightaway, looking at the 4th car back. Look at Barber putting the pressure on. His car has come to life a little bit quicker than McAleer's right now, putting the pressure on as they head down to turn 3.
They've been hanging around in the points championship. Tim Barber and his co-driver Cole Corallo. A couple of podiums the last time out at VIR, maybe using some of that momentum carrying over into this race weekend. McAleer able to keep him at bay under the Sargento Bridge, roaring down the Moraine sweep towards turn 5.
You can see it. Murillo was dropped a spot. Miller's got by him. Deep into the brake zone, James Clay. You know that Wilson is looking in his rearview mirror. James Clay is not shy and getting his elbows out and trying to make a move, so he's got to factor in his class position if Clay gets a little bit closer.
And Kenny Murillo would love to get back past John Miller. We lost that spot. It was looking very aggressive. Forced Miller on the defensive, and for now, Murillo is held at bay by Miller. Here's another fight, though. James Clay anxious to get around the AM class car of Chris Wilson so he can track down those ahead of him, although he is the leader in Pro-Am right now. The top 2 are both silver class runners.
Yeah, 2nd and 3rd in Pro-Am right now is Tom Capizzi aboard the number 52 Auto Technique BMW, sitting in 9th overall. Travis has moved ahead of Walker here on this opening lap, so he now sits in the 3rd position in Pro-Am.
10th overall. We'll keep an eye on that Nova Sport entry as they race for the Pro-Am Championship. They've been the dominant pairing so far, but this has been a difficult weekend to this point for Matt Travis and Jason Hart. Stephen McAleer out in front, the Scotsman who's been based in the States for several years and has formed a great partnership with Classic BMW, but he's got his mirrors full of a fellow BMW runner, Tim Barber, the veteran, right behind.
He does. We're only just under 6 minutes away from that pit lane opening for that mandatory pit stop window. Look at Clay. He's got a big run here on Wilson as they come up this front stretch. Pops to the outside. Kenny clearing by turn 1. Easy pickings. We talked about that BMW strength here at Road America. There you see it on display. Clears the Mercedes.
It's not a fight for class position either. That is the Pro-Am leader Clay around the Am leader Chris Wilson. And Wilson didn't put up too much of a fight. Not sure there's much he could have done. Those BMWs look extremely strong down the long straightaways. That run from turn 14 to turn 1, 4,400 feet. One of 3 full throttle sections at least 3,800 feet long around this racetrack.
Yeah, and if you took a template for building the perfect racetrack, this would be pretty close, because I just love these long straightaways, big heavy brake zones into relatively slow corners. That's what allows for great racing and overtaking, as we can see throughout the field. People continuing to go side by side.
Looks like Travis lost that spot back to James Walker. So the third place position in Pro-Am has changed hands yet again. The ebb and flow around this track with the Porsche probably stronger in some of the tighter corners, and then that the strength of the BMW, as we've seen, has been in a straight line.
Ryan Dexter here having a nice run aboard the 062 Aston Martin. Clean exit there out of turn 8. And you swing it in here, just crack the throttle a little bit, just trying to balance the car, feel when it settles down and is ready to go again. When can you pick up the throttle and be full commitment out of here, getting the exit speed on the run down to the kink.
The winners in the season opener at Sonoma have had a couple of podiums since then, very much in the thick of the Silver Class Points Championship. We'll keep an eye on them as they run, but as we do so, let's go back down to the pit lane.
Well, as we count down the minutes to the driver change, I'm sure no one's more excited about this than Jason Alexandrias. He is going to get back in a car for the first time since 2019. And Jason, what's going through your mind right now?
Well, Amanda, I got to tell you, I haven't been in an SRO race in a couple of years. I'm really excited to be back. The fields have grown to an incredible size. I'm with a new team, Motorsport USA, and I have a new co-driver, Kevin O'Keefe. And just before we were going to chat with you guys, I saw that my car pulled into the pits here for some type of stop-and-go penalty, which I'm not sure what happened there yet, but we're going to find out. And I couldn't be more thrilled to be here. And I want to thank my sponsor, Rebounders, for helping me out, and I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, Jason.
Rebounders is an indoor trampoline park that Jason looks after. That is his business now, and really enthusiastic about his racing. A great competitor, has a history of playing volleyball at a very high level, actually played professional beach volleyball for a time, and he told me when that came to an end, he needed a new outlet for his competitive spirit, and he's found it in motorsports. So great to have him back in the championship. He's really enthusiastic about what he and that Motorsport USA team can do.
Yeah, he's a great personality, and I know it's been tough on a lot of businesses, so great to see Rebounders on the rebound, so to speak, and even with that pit stop call, maybe they can bounce back here today and have a good result, but hopefully we'll see more of them this season. But this battle is not going anywhere as they climb the hill up to turn 6.
Oh, look at this stuff. Chris Wilson doing his best to hold off John Miller, who got shuffled back a little bit at the start. That's a look at the Capstone Motorsports team that looks after Chris Wilson and John Allen. And Wilson doing a good job, as you'd expect the veteran to do. It's almost a misnomer, Calvin, to put him in this AM class. He is, because of driver ratings, he is a bronze, and maybe that has more to do with date of birth than anything else with some of the intricacies of the system. But you look at what he's done, the races he's been in over the years, and he's still just as enthusiastic as ever.
Well, he's just the ultimate driver coach and mentor, and just great partner to have for John Allen. So he's always smiling, has a great attitude about it, and there you see him. I think he's just trying to get out of the way here. He doesn't want John Miller to get too frisky with him here. All he's trying to do is just create the biggest buffer he can, the biggest gap between he and the other AM competitors, to turn it over his teammate to go to work and try and hang on to that lead here before the checkered flag this afternoon.
He's holding Miller off for the moment, and that's bringing Kenny Murillo into the picture in the orange car just at the back of that previous shot. Here is Wilson in the Mercedes. He's got Big Al, the elephant from Alabama, University of Alabama, on the front of that car. That's part of a great program that his co-driver, John Allen, has put together with the engineering school at the university that he attended. But for the moment, he's got his hands full. John Miller eager to get by so he can give chase to the top 4.
Yeah, catches him a little bit later than we're seeing some of the other moves here today, but takes it to the outside. Can he hang on his flank? He does. Nice move there by Miller. Uses all of that track exit. Here comes Wilson again. He has the inside lane, the inside line down into turn 3.
Interesting to see these two fighting this hard, not for class position. I'm sure that's not sitting well with John Miller right now, but you can't blame Chris Wilson. The car is fast. Now here comes Kenny Murillo sneaking up on the back of them, and just behind Tom Capizzi, who got past Ryan Dexter on that previous lap. He's watching, a very interested spectator. Wilson goes defensive into turn 5. Can Miller make it work around the outside?
Ooh, that was deep. Late on the brake pedal there for Miller. Can't quite make it stick. Look at that experience and racecraft there by Wilson, though, fully on display.
And Murillo now taking a peek to the outside through turn 6. That blind left-hander as you crest the hill. Settles back in line single file. Now the high-speed run through turn 7 down to Hurry Downs and towards the sharp left-hander of turn 8, which leads into the carousel.
I think Wilson believes if he could just hit his mark and pick his ideal line as opposed to being defensive, he's probably got a little bit more pace and could maybe stretch it, but Miller's certainly on the attack, and I think these guys just need to think about the big picture. Them fighting is costing them lap time, and that's just minimizing the gap that they're able to build on their competitors behind.
Well, and Miller needs to get this pass made because the top 2 overall are the top 2 in the silver class. That's what John Miller is racing for, silver class honors. And so every moment he's trapped behind this Mercedes that he might have a bit more pace than is time that he's losing to the leaders in his class.
Yeah, Miller's getting aggressive, slides it down to the inside. That was late. You got to be careful, almost getting to the side of him. Here comes Murillo. He gets a bit of a run, but nowhere to go with it.
Credit to Wilson, who saw that late charge coming and gave just enough room to make sure they got through there cleanly. Murillo is closing in. Capizzi is closing in. It's a 4-way scrap now for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Pit window is open.
Interesting call by Murillo to get them out of this fight, Calvin, and hopefully some clean track on the other side.
Well, the key is all about your driver pairing, and he's got a really good driver mate in Christian Shimshak, so he'll have pace as well. So Kenny Murillo has brought his son in, and here we go. This battle is not going anywhere. You expect Allen to stay out there as long as possible on this stretch here, so he's probably going to be out there for as much of that 8 minutes that's left on the board as he can use.
John Miller can't get it done. Wilson holds him off yet again, now trying to cross him over on this run down the Moraine sweep, 3,800 feet from turn 3 under the Sargento Bridge down to turn 5.
It's a big run. Not quite close enough again. We've seen some of the other Mercedes versus BMWs being a little bit easier pickings for the BMW pilot. So Murillo's in, his Shimshak. 86 seconds is what we're looking for, to be as tight to that as you can. You have a 1-second joker to work with per weekend, not each race. Typically on day 2, you'll try and use that up as well if you have it still to play with.
Murillo and Shimshak broke through for an overall win in the first race of the weekend at VIR. Their first overall win of the season, their 3rd win in total. While they're making their driver change, this continues to rage on. John Miller is wrangling that BMW, and the thought that comes to mind, no tire changes in these pit stops here, Calvin. He's got to make sure he leaves something for Chamber Hall.
That's a great point. I mean, no tire changes happening during this pit stop, so if he's using them up and he's off the road there on the exit of the carousel, he's certainly pushing really, really hard. And that has allowed Capizzi to close in on him on the run through the King, down into Canada corner brake zone. Maybe Capizzi can think about making a move.
Now, this is exactly what Wilson wanted to see. Now we can test that theory if he doesn't have to play defense the whole time and he can run the ideal line. Can he keep these two behind? That car is looking evil for John Miller. At the exit of Canada corner, he was pointed directly at the tire barrier.
Yeah, no, he's arms and elbows right now. Capizzi's really putting the pressure on, so they can do a tire pressure adjustment. So if they're overinflated, maybe they can just crack some pressure out those rear tires and maybe make it a little bit better balance for Chandler Hull, who will take over the reins here when they do finally stop.
They stay out on track, and that's part of the strategy here for these lineups. Capizzi with the big run up the inside, and from the hunter to the hunted goes John Miller, and he's got that similar BMW M4 with the strong straightaway speed to his inside. He knows this outside line, though, from the last few laps when he was going on the attack. Can he put that knowledge to use?
Capizzi's got the line now. It's going to be tough for Miller to come back. But you know he's going to keep digging, and he does. Takes it around the outside. He is not giving up on this track position right now. He wants to keep it and maintain it till they get to the round of pit stops.
A fierce battle raging on track here. These are two of the best behind the wheel of a BMW. Here comes Capizzi looking to the inside, pops back in line. Miller goes defensive. Capizzi will try the outside, not close enough to get it done. Will slot back in, single file through turn 5.
What a fun race this has been for John Miller so far today. He's had a couple of scary moments, but as you can see, this has allowed Wilson to kind of stretch his legs a little bit. I felt he had a bit more pace, I think some of that is true, and also I think that Miller is struggling even more as he gets deep into this run.
Look at the advantage that's given Wilson. I think you were exactly right, Calvin. When he didn't have to worry about being under attack, he was able to run his line, use the strength of that Mercedes, and he's pulled out a big gap right now. Top top three have not changed. McAleer, Barber, and Clay have yet to pit. A couple have made stops.
James Walker is pitted. He's got Billy Overland behind the wheel, so typically with the Pro-Am driver pairings, you're going to let that Pro get in the car as soon as possible. With the Silver lineups and the Am lineups, obviously slightly different strategies employed there.
More flexibility in the lineup when there's less of a variation between experience levels of the two drivers. It's worth noting McAleer has really pulled out a gap over Barber. It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, quick spin.
Right in front of the leaders. That's not what you want to see.
Todd Clark. There's Ty behind the wheel. I think they may have been in and done a driver change. Todd started the race.
That's right, they did make a stop just a few laps ago. This is Tim Barber. Cole Corallo, the youngster, will take over. And it's another one of those instances where the way this race format works with the two drivers having a chance to get to drive alongside your coach so that they're feeling the same thing you are. They can give better feedback that way. I think it's one of the success stories of Pirelli GT4 America that we've seen, and the reason we've seen it grow so much.
Well, it's the perfect scenario. I mean, driver coaching has become so prevalent in our sport over the last few years, and to have the ability to literally drive with your driver coach, he can tell you what the car's doing. You can look at his data, you can lay it over yours and see where you're missing out or where you're losing time. So I think that's what's so attractive to this Sprint X format and the two-driver format now.
Tom Capizzi has come to the pit lane. He was the one challenging John Miller for position not so long ago for 5th overall. They bring him in, and here is the driver change underway.
Should be plenty of time to get this done. You're looking at about 40 seconds, I think, is the typical pit loss here at Road America in terms of coming down pit lane. So it gives you about 45 seconds to work with on a simple driver change. So unless you completely mess it up, you should be good to go.
That was a really good stint from Tom. He'll hand it over to John Capestro-Dubetz, who is no slouch behind the wheel, and will do so in a great position, as we saw a couple of cars leaving 11s on the racetrack, getting some slide going on with the rear wheels.
These leaders who haven't pitted yet will need to come in this time. There's not enough time to put another lap on the board and be inside that pit stop window, which closes in just under 2 minutes.
Any of the pit stops that have taken place so far catch your eye, whether they're fast or slow?
I'd say in general, they're all looking pretty slow. No one's really close to the minimum, so we'll have to wait and see if some of the leaders can execute a little bit closer to that minimum stop time.
Keep an eye on that. See, yes, our leaders do indeed peel off as we anticipated. So Stephen McAleer will be handing over to Toby Grahovic. Oversees this classic BMW operation, but definitely can get it done behind the wheel, and this is a track he knows inside and out.
It is, and he's going to be looking for great things here. Grahovic was brought up here. He spent his time watching his family race here over the years, so to have the ability to go for a race win today is a pretty exciting time for Toby.
Kenny Murillo has turned that car over to Kristen Shimshak, the Murillo Racing Mercedes. And now he's going to try and do what has been very difficult to do, hold off a hard-charging BMW M4 here at Road America. And an M4 making its way to the pit lane. Amanda is standing by.
Well, you remember as we talked at the top of the show, Stephen McAleer wanted to bring this BMW into pit lane and hand it to Toby Grahovic in the #1 spot, and that's exactly what he did. McAleer is racing for that birthday win, guys, but Toby is as well. This is his home track, as you just alluded to, Cal, but something else special. He won here last year in the TC category, so to go back here with wins in Road America, I think that would make the hometown kid pretty happy.
No question about that. Here is the pit work from Capstone Motorsports. John Allen set to go behind the wheel. Chris Wilson with a great opening stint, running in the overall top 5 as the top AM class runner. Now we'll see if John can hang on to that spot. There should be some hard charging AMs coming through the field in the second half of the race. And here come the leaders. Pit stops complete, Calvin.
Yeah, and we actually got an update that the minimum stop time was up to 91 seconds. And we just saw Clay de Galante at 130.9, so they'll be using the joker there, 1/10 of a second underneath, but a lot of the other front runners doing it in about a second over the minimum time. So not a big switch up there, but certainly Bimmerwald very much on top of the game.
That should be a fun pairing to keep an eye on too. James Clay, the veteran, passes it over to Nick Galante, who was new to the championship earlier this year and has fit in quite nicely. Christian Shimshak here trying to hold off the hard-charging Bill Oberlin, one of the most experienced and decorated BMW drivers anywhere on the planet, and here comes Bill around the outside.
Yeah, very much into a rhythm right now. He's one of the early stoppers in terms of James Walker coming in and turning it over to Bill Oberlin. Qualified second fastest in the second qualifying session here this morning, so we'll start on the front row tomorrow, but Bill is all about winning. He loves winning races, particularly behind the wheel. One of those Rondell BMW-powered machines.
Big smile on his face all weekend coming to Road America. And Bill Oberlin up one more spot, able to get around Christian Shimshak. That is, looks like, for the fourth position. We'll see how things shake out after the pit stops have totally completed. The pit window, as you can see, is closed. And it looks like everyone is out of the pits at this stage.
Beautiful. Watching Oberlin flow through that sector there, through turn 8, just using, through turn 7, excuse me, using every inch of the road. Just very much into a rhythm here. Here's Grahovic trying to get into his rhythm early in the stint right now.
How much of a skill is that to be called in cold off the bench in the middle of a race and be on it right away?
Well, the good news is he did that qualifying session a little bit early. Also, the tires will maintain most of their tire temps. And when you go back out there, everything, the car's up to temp, the tires are up to temp. So it's just really hitting your marks. You got to be careful with the rhythm of dealing with traffic like he had to kind of focus on then. But now he's got clear road ahead and just settle in, start to hit your marks. He's not under any pressure right now, but you can't afford to relax too much. There's not too much of a gap there at the front.
To me that Nick Galante had made it around Cole Corallo, and indeed that is the case. That is not for class position, but it is for overall. So Grahovic leads overall and in silver over Galante, who is the Pro-Am leader. Cole Corallo now dropping to third overall, but second in the silver class, and then you get Bill Oberlin. So how about this for a theme? 4 BMWs holding the top 4 spots, then Mercedes with Christian Shimshak and Jason Hart slowly but surely moving his way forward for NOLA Sport. That's the car that Matt Travis started. Currently holds third in class in Pro-Am, but 6th overall, up 4 positions here in the last couple of laps.
And that's where that experience shows with that NOLA Sport team. Despite not qualifying that well, and I think Jason's even deeper in the field for tomorrow's race, they're just going to maintain their poise, just all about damage limitation. It seems like the Porsche is not quite as quick as some of the other manufacturers here this weekend, but score as many points as you can. That's really the focus in a championship. Win if you can. If you can't finish first, finish second, and on down the order. Sometimes a 5th or a 6th is the best you can achieve on a certain race day, but it's all about focusing on the big picture and just grabbing points as best you can.
One thing to note, we saw the Dexter Racing car drop 10 spots on that last lap. They had been well inside the top 10. They're now running 16th overall. And should also mention that John Allen, the leader in the AM class, taking over for Chris Wilson. He's 8th in the overall running order. His closest pursuer is John Jesbray in the Smooge Racing Toyota Supra. That car is currently back in 18th, so it'll be interesting to see how much progress Jesbray can make over the course of this stint. He's been a bit of a revelation in his first season of GT4 racing this year.
He really has. Very impressive young man, but he's about 15 seconds back, so he's just got to focus forward, just click off those lap times and see if he can reel John Allen in by the end of this race.
2/3 of the way through the race. Here's a challenge, possibly for position. I think that's the new Conquest car. It is Colin Mullen behind the wheel, running 10th, and he's challenging Chandler Hall in the car that John Miller started. This is a fight for 9th overall and 4th in silver.
Well, let's see how it compares now. We've seen the BMW make some moves around the Mercedes AMG machines here today up this front straightaway, but Mullins now picking up the draft from the BMW. And I'd have to say that Miller's speed didn't look as impressive as some of the other BMWs we've seen out here this afternoon. So let's see how they stack up here.
Well, we saw just what a handful that BMW looked like for John Miller, and that doesn't appear to be a whole lot better. We saw Chandler Hull sideways through a couple of corners coming onto this front straightaway.
Look behind them. Look at that battle coming up into turn one. Almost 4 abreast there. Yeah, you're right. Chandler's struggling with the grip here as well. Mullen looks to the inside, takes it in deep. Tries to tuck in, and it's all about just maintaining that lane. Maintaining the line here, not overshooting the corner and giving the BMW a big run. They come down the moraine sweep.
We are getting reports, and you can see it just visually, that some rain is headed this direction. Whether or not it arrives in the next 19 minutes and 7 seconds, well, that's really the question here, but that would definitely throw a giant wrench into the works in the final third of the race. NOLA Sport, the championship leaders in Pro-Am at the front of the field. That's the Cayman you see with the big cougar on the front and the big me, a throwback to the famous livery from Talladega Nights. We know Matt Travis loves his racing movie references, so we put it all over his car. And he's at the moment, that's Jason Hart behind the wheel, trying to hold off John Capestro-Dubets in the BMW.
That's what's cool about that NOLA Sport team. They take it very seriously, as we know, in terms of winning races every single weekend and trying to claim a big championship this year. But they have fun doing it, which is pretty cool to see.
This is impressive as well. Cole Corallo in the blue Beamer at the back of this shot is started to reel in those in front of him. He was giving up some time early in his stint, but has fallen into a nice rhythm. And he's got Galante out in front. Actually, it looks like he's lost a spot there to Oberlin, excuse me, but hanging right with them here, and he might be in the mix to bring the fight to Galante before this race is over.
2 Bimmer World cars now running first and second in the Pro-Am class. That's Galante as we come up the hill there. Bill Oberlin on the prowl, though.
And here comes Bill up the hill with just 17 minutes to go, and he can sense an overall win is potentially in the cards. Just 4 seconds up the road is the race leader, Toby Grahovic. Oberlin to the inside, the car squirming under the brakes. Galante giving him just enough room to the inside. Oberlin giving enough room on the outside. Did they make it through turn one cleanly? Give the spot to Bill Oberlin.
Yeah, he really felt that one out. He had the run. I think any other competitor, he just barreled it down the inside. He wanted to make sure that Nick Galante was going to give him enough room. I think they probably are thinking back to Coda when they had 3 Bimmer World cars all in the first lap incident. Want to play it nice and clean with your teammates.
And it was nice and clean. That's good to see. Oberlin now up to second, and he begins the pursuit of Toby Grahovic, some 4 seconds up the road, but still 16 minutes and change to work with. That's plenty of time for a driver of Bill Oberlin's caliber.
Yeah, it really is. He's going to try and hunt down. He'd love to get that over and win, but right now he's got the class win. This is really deep on the brakes there with Spencer Pumpelly aboard the TRG Porsche Cayman. The Sal Solution machine on the march.
Great drive from this team. Derek DeBoer started the car. Spencer Pumpelly jumping in. They had some issues in qualifying that left them lamenting what might have been, but clearly there is some pace in that Cayman as Derek had a solid opening stint. And here comes Spencer Pumpelly up the inside of Chandler Hull, and he's able to make that pass stick.
Wow, that was impressive. Just really late on the brakes. Didn't like he was even fighting the car as he got down to the apex. So he has pace right now, trying to clear this 23 machine. Alexandridis
gets it done around the outside in the carousel where it bottles up the rest of these runners. Chandler Hull able to finally make the pass. Colin Mullen follows him through, and Alexandridis wisely backs out of it to let these front runners swarm past. Colin Mullen looking to pick up one more spot. He's been working on Chandler Hull for the last couple of laps.
Big lap here from Pumpelly, though. I think he's moved from the 6th position in class up to 4th.
That's what you expect from the veteran. So many laps around this place in all kinds of different machinery.
Including NASCAR Xfinity race here earlier this summer. Had a big brake issue, lost brakes going down into turn one, had a massive crash. I think that's on the back of your mind when you enter this corner at high speed, even in one of these GT4 machines.
Yeah, I saw Spencer running the NASCAR race at IMS just a couple of weeks ago. Perhaps getting a little extra track time there for the Pirelli Gt4 America stop, but boy, you can see just how much the Mercedes is giving up in a straight line as Colin Mullen is getting freight train down the front straightaway.
Wow, that's got to be super frustrating after a really impressive start to this stint for him. So nothing you can do. You can see there's just a big delta in terms of the terminal speed of the cars here. However, he's got another car, Guy Cosmo, diving down the inside, taking advantage of Mullen getting a little bit out of rhythm with all of those cars passing him up into turn 1.
That's a program that came together rather late for Guy Cosmo and Chris Cagnazzi, but they've been pretty good together. And Guy Cosmo, another one with tons of experience putting it to use. Colin Mullen, a former champion in this series, but doesn't seem to have the car quite to his liking. Battle for the lead is on, Calvin.
Billy Orblin down to the inside, gets around Toby Grahovic. I have to think that Toby Grahovic is thinking of the big picture and those silver championship points. So that's the overall lead. It's now a Pro-Am car of Bill Orblin, the number 34 machine, leaving a silver class car of Toby Grahovic. Identical machinery essentially, but they're battling for different point structure.
One thing to keep an eye on is there is some smoke coming out of the back of this car. I've seen it a few times earlier, and it's definitely picking up in intensity. So that is something in the back of their minds. Meanwhile, let's get an update from the pit lane and Amanda.
Well, there might be another battle that the teams are going to face here soon enough, guys. The weather. I know it's been a battle here already this weekend, but I actually talked to John Miller after he got out of the car with the driver swap with Chandler Hull, and he was telling me that it was raining on his way in, especially in the Canada corner as you head into that Mitchell Bend. But you can see teams kind of anticipating it. I did talk to Classic as well prior to this, and they said that they're ready for it if it happens, but teams are wanting to see what's going to happen with the weather here too.
That does go a ways towards explaining why we saw that car slipping and sliding so much if there was moisture on the track. Here comes Christian Shimshak now, showing that there is some strength in that Mercedes-AMG GT4 relative to a BMW.
Yeah, he's hanging tough here, trying to get close here to Nick Galante and try and get that overall position again. These two cars not battling for the same class position right now. It's a little bit complicated when you've got all these fast drivers here in at the end.
Shimshak wants to catch Grahovic. That is the leader in the silver class. They're separated by that one car and a couple of seconds. Now we check in with Jason Hart once again, the NOLA Sport driver, championship leader in Pro-Am. It's been a nice recovery drive for them. A lot of that first stint was spent outside of the top 10, but Jason now has that car running in 6th overall, challenging for 5th overall, although the fight that you see on the screen is not for class position.
No, he's looking way ahead there, but not that far in terms of time delta. Just a couple of seconds in front is Nick Galante, who holds down 2nd in the Pro-Am class. So that's the car that he's focused on, but he's obviously got to get around these two cars that are meeting that sandwich.
Should also update the AM class battle has changed. I'm not sure what happened to John Allen, but John Jesbray now leads, and 2nd belongs to Thomas Merrill, back in 18th, 17th, and 19th, respectively.
That was close there. Saw Colin Mullen lean on Chandler Hull there on the brake zone for turn 6. That's a tricky one. Not a lot of room there with that bridge abutment.
But they made it work, give Mullen the spot, and that's also allowed this number 15 Aston to enter the fray as well. Kenton Cook driving.
Yeah, and he's going to be on the charge. A lot of momentum with that team, the B-Sport team, coming off a great victory at VIR in the last event, admittedly. Back in the memory distance in terms of it's nearly 12 weeks ago since we competed here, but still, that'll really put a spring in their step.
It certainly has. Talking to Kenton and his co-driver Ryan Putt there on Cloud 9. That was the long-awaited first win for them and that program. Meanwhile, Chandler Hull still coming under attack. This is Chad Mccomb coming by. Good to see him and PF Racing back in Pirelli Gt4 America. Chad, of course, a veteran of NASCAR racing for many, many years, and then made the switch, ran some MX5 Cup. And what I find interesting is he and Stephen McAleer co-own an MX5 Cup team, and there's a chance the two of them could end up racing against each other, at least their cars, over the course of this weekend.
Well, they've won a championship together in another series, so they know each other very well. But there is battles going on everywhere right now. So Greg Leofouge Certainly has pace. He has pole position for tomorrow's race, so there is a lot of speed in that Stephen Cameron Racing Run BMW, the orange and blue machine. Right there, heading through the apex of turn 1. Here's Mullen settling back down again after losing a few. Oh no, is that Grahovic?
We saw the telltale signs earlier, and it looks like the powertrain has given up. And Toby Grahovic has pulled the erstwhile race leader off to the side of the racetrack with a plume of smoke behind. Hopefully, he's able to locate a safe area to stop that race car, and we can continue under green for the final 9.5 minutes.
That is devastating for that driver combo. We're really charging up the points order despite missing the opening rounds of this championship season.
And then they'll have to go to work to make sure they can have a car ready to go for tomorrow. That's where if you have an issue in race 1 of these doubleheader weekends, the problem can compound itself if there aren't the appropriate spare parts or if the damage is too significant in the case of an accident to enact a repair overnight.
Jason Hart here, time running out, just under 9 minutes to go. Can he chase down that BMW that we're looking at, Nick Galante? Not really making a lot of headway. Still a podium run at this stage of the day, though.
Right, so Corallo in the BMW, he's working his way around now. This is not for class position. Galante, though, just up the road would be.
That's going to help, though. Shimshak getting to the inside of Galante, so that's going to stall him out a little bit.
And this is that fight here, side by side. Shimshak.
Is there a touch? A little puff there, I thought, as they got into the turn-in part of Billy Mitchell Bend. This is really going to give Jason Hart a little more spring in his step right now, as he can see that BMW 2 cars ahead is the one he's trying to chase down.
Oh, here comes the counterattack, though, up the hill. The speed in a straight line of the BMW on full display. Shimshak worked so hard to get that spot, and he's going to have to give it back with no recourse in a straight line, and now Shimshak on the defensive. John Capestro-Dubets takes a peek up the inside. Christian gives him tons of room. JCD ultimately backs out of it. And he'll settle back in single file, but boy, how frustrating must that be for Shimshak to work so hard, get that spot, and then be blown by.
Yeah, JCD is kind of quietly snuck up here into that podium spot, got around Jason Hart, so he's having a brilliant run.
Here he comes around the outside of Shimshak. That would be for the 4th spot, 3rd spot overall, I believe. Here's your AM class leader, John Jesbray, in this Supra. Doing a great job moving forward. He's up to 15th overall now.
Yeah, really super impressive. To catch that AM class leader and stretch the lead right now with 7 minutes to go.
Out front, Bill Oberlin has extended his lead to over 10 seconds. Nick Galante holds second at the moment. That's the car at the lead of this train. And then you bring John Capestro-Dubets into the picture, followed by Christian Shimshak. And Jason Hart has latched on to the end of this train. He's looking for a couple more spots, if possible, just to try and, like you said, salvage a weekend on an event in which this Porsche just might not be the best weapon to have in your hand.
Yeah, Oberlin's in a different zip code right now with that 10-second lead, but look at these two BMW. JCD is on the march right now. He's got a bit more pace in that Auto Technique machine, it seems like, but Galante doesn't want to give it up. That's going to allow Shimshak and Hart to get a run on these two BMWs.
Here comes Shimshak. He's been strong in this section through Billy Mitchell Bend before. We saw him make an outside pass. Jason Hart looking, trying to plot a way past as well. Oh, there's a peek to the inside from Capestro-Dubets. Backs out of it, looking to get that big run up this drag strip that is the front straightaway.
Yeah, don't be surprised to see this little gaggle trade some paint here before the finish here today. They're all fighting really hard. Look at Hart there, big run. So we talk about the BMW's pace with the draft. Jason Hart slides around the outside of Shimshak. He wants to go and attack those two BMWs.
And they're side by side as well. Galante going defensive to the
he's slow
inside.
coming off. Watch the run that Hart will get right here if he can execute.
Didn't quite get back to power as quickly as he needed to, and now suddenly Jason Hart's in the picture. that would be for class
Galante's
position.
wide. He slipped there going through turn 3. That gives JCD the run, and here comes Jason Hart as well.
He's got 2 cars breaking the air for him. Big draft there. That should bring Shimshak into the picture as well. Cole Corallo not too far behind. Side by side in the run down the Marine sweep to turn number 5.
Pompelli's looking at that battle up front. He says keep battling, but time is running out for Spencer. Under 5 minutes to go.
Looking to see who made it out of there, out in front in that scrap, and it's still Galante able to hold off the attack from John Capestra-Dubets. Jason Hart right behind, as is Shimshak, who takes a peek to the inside of the Porsche. Backs out of it, though, before turn 6.
Yeah, sometimes just the gear ratio in the different car can make a difference as you accelerate off a turn if it's in the sweet spot. Really impressive that Nick Galante has really just settled back in here, and he's determined to hang on to that P2 position.
There's Shimshak. This car is strong through the carousel here. He's able to hang right with Jason Hart, trying to take that spot back. But it's really Hart who's the aggressor at the moment. John Capestra-Dubets, who just a few moments ago was challenging to take that spot away from Galante, settling in, trying to hold off the hard-charging Cayman.
Cayman's handling looks to be spot on right now at this late stage of the race. Nearly 60 minutes on this set of Pirelli P0s. His car's a little bit stronger through the corner, it seems, but he's still a little bit weaker to the BMWs down the straightaways. How does he plot his way to the front of this pack right now?
Now keep in mind, there is the threat of weather looming too. We'll keep our eyes on the skies, but for the moment it appears still to be a dry racetrack. No rain reported as of now, but some is in the area. That could definitely throw a wrench into things. But it's a train of 4 cars, a pair of BMWs, a Porsche, and a Mercedes fighting for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, as well as 5th in the overall running order.
Here comes Capestra-Dubets, another big run. Flicks it to the outside as they get down towards that brake zone.
AM class leader John Jesbray still getting it done out in front of his class, 15th in the overall running order. He's got the recovering Dexter Racing silver class car behind, trying to make his way back forward. Thomas Merrill continues to run in the 2nd spot in AM, but what a pairing John Jesbray has proven to be alongside Kevin Conway this year. The 2 of them jumping onto the scene with a brand new race team with some support from the Ave group. Meanwhile, we have had a change of spot here because Jason Hart, I think, has made the pass on Capestra-Dubets, but now is going to have to fight to consolidate it.
He does, but now he's getting to that sector 2 where the Porsche should be a little bit stronger down the long straightaways where the BMW has the upper hand. He's got to really focus on here, just getting the power down early through 6, rolling a bit more speed through turn 7. Maybe having a crack at it as you see the brake lights come on momentarily there for Galante through turn 7. Does Hart risk everything and look to the inside? No, he doesn't feel he's close enough right now.
The one pass he's made, though, on Capestra-Dubets, that is for 3rd in Pro-Am, so it's now Pro-Am 1, 2, 3, 4 overall. That's big in the championship hunt, and look at the strength of the Cayman.
Yeah, just hugging that inside line there. He's got the grip. He's looking to the inside. This is going to be a big duel here. Who's going to give it up on the entry to the kink? Hart has the inside. Does Galante roll the outside? Yes, he does. He's trying to hang on here.
Oh, that's going to open the door. Here comes John Capestra-Dubets. He'll get Hart. Can he make it 2 for 1 in the run to Canada corner? Side by side, Capestra-Dubets in the red car. It's Galante on the outside in the white and purple car, and give the spot to John Capestra-Dubets. Side by side is Hart still trying to make the pass around the outside through Billy Mitchell Bend.
Galante tries to hold with him. They're side by side. Hart's out of room. He's in the grass. And that allows Shimshak the run to the inside. Jason Hart losing positions here with just over a lap to go. Bodywork flailing there on the tail end of Nick Galante's BMW.
Oh, just like that, the championship picture can change around. A loss of a couple of spots, possibly looking to go up 2 positions in Pro-Am. Instead, drops back a couple more, and here comes Cole Corallo. Not a class position, but working his way to the outside as the white flag flies. It is for class position, though, with Spencer Pompelli in the TRG Porsche right behind.
Yeah, Spencer's right there. He's going to give it his all here on the last lap, essentially. Final lap for everyone out there. Pompelli has a lot of speed in that TRG Porsche Cayman. Now going to try and set up Hart. He runs the wider entry there. Can he get the exit speed coming off of turn 3? There he is. Going to pick up a punch in the air from those cars up in front of him. Flicks to the outside of Jason Hart really early in the run. Hart doesn't want to give him the lane. Look at that.
Spencer Pumpelly does find the gap, though. Slides up what will become the inside for the left-hander in turn 5. Up front, Bill Auberlen leads by 15 seconds, but this fight is fierce. Spencer Pumpelly up another spot around Jason Hart. He's going to try and make it 2 for 1 up the hill.
Can he catch Nick Galante and get that final spot on the podium? What a run here for Spencer Pumpelly. Great start by his teammate Derek DeBoer. They're looking for a podium run here. Final lap of the race.
Spencer Pumpelly gets around Cole Corallo. He's got Christian Shimshak just up the road. That is not for class position, but Galante would be in the BMW that is up ahead of the orange Mercedes. Since he made the pass, John Capestro Dubets has driven away from this fray, so he seems to be solidified second overall and in Pro-Am. Galante holding on to third overall and in Pro-Am. Shimshak, your leader in silver, but he'd like to get on the overall podium.
Watch Pumpelly. What will he do down in the Canada corner? He's been demonic on the brakes here this afternoon.
Is he going to be close enough? We'll find out soon enough. Meanwhile, to the front of the field, a master drive from the master BMW driver in the field, Bill Auberlen, took this car to the front. He and James Walker are set to win overall in Pirelli GT4 America Race 1 at Road America. Up the hill goes Bill Auberlen. Checkered flag awaits, and yet another victory for awesome Bill. Bill takes the checkered flag and wins Race 1 of the weekend. Here comes the charge from Pumpelly. This is not for class position, but he's going to try and make it anyway. Shimshak goes defensive. Drag race to the checkered flag. Christian Shimshak will hold off Spencer Pumpelly, or will he? It's a dead heat at the line.
No,
Give the spot to Pumpelly.
Wow, use a little side draft, maybe some NASCAR action coming into play there. That was pretty cool.
It didn't matter as far as points or class position, but Pumpelly does take fourth overall by 7 thousandths of a second over Christian Shimshak, who wins in silver. Cole Corallo takes home second in the silver class. There's smooth racing across the line. John Jesbray secures yet another class win for himself. And Kevin Conway, 15th overall, holding on by just 0.8 of a second over Thomas Merrill, who had a nice run himself. A nice second place finish for Merrill in the AM class.
Yeah, really impressive. He burst onto the scene there in those closing laps with that Porsche. See what they can do in tomorrow's race. Maybe go one better. They certainly have the pace in the race car, it seems.
My goodness, Pirelli GT4 America and Road America, what a combination.
Doesn't disappoint.
No, sir.
Weather held off. We didn't need the weather to spice this one up.
No, we did not. You know, it's almost lost because we had such a great fight going on behind. But first of all, the first stint from James Walker Jr. to put that car in position was noteworthy. And then Auberlen wasted no time at all, knifing through the field to take the lead. And once he got there, he just waved goodbye.
Well, it's a combined effort. I mean, you need your AM partner to do their job in terms of the track position initially with the qualifying run, and then good, clean opening laps. Maintain as high position as you can and let that pro go to work. And Billy Auberlen, boy, did he put on a clinic here.
Crown Strike fastest lap of the race came early. Stephen McAleer with a 2:20.193. Unfortunately, that's the car that he and Tony Verhoeven share that had differential issues that caused them to drop out while running second overall. What a disappointment for them, Calvin. They look primed to challenge for a win, possibly overall, certainly in class, and it all goes up in a puff of smoke.
Yeah, it's a big shame because the championship was really heating up with the run that they'd been on, including that great win at VIR. So they'll have to dust themselves off, try and bounce back tomorrow, score some big points, and long way to go in this championship, though. We're only at the halfway point.
Well, here are the provisional race results. What a race it was. Bill Auberlen, James Walker Jr. winning overall. Pro-Am taking the top 4 positions in the overall running order with Tom Capizzi and John Capestro Dubets. Great run for those two to come home in second. James Clay, Nick Galante third overall. Your silver class came down to the wire with Christian Shimshak and Kenny Murillo holding off Cole Corallo and Tim Barber. Tim had a great opening stint in this race. They're 5th and 6th in the overall, and what might have been for Matt Travis and Jason Hart. The good news is they had a massive points lead entering the weekend, so finishing off the podium for the first time this season isn't going to hurt them too badly, but they know they've learned their lesson from the past couple of seasons where they've had big leads, Cal, and ultimately, as much as they hate to hear me say this time and time again, coming up just short each of the last 2 years. I think they know each and every point is valuable, and that's why we saw Jason Hart so aggressive.
Yeah, you can't afford to relax. No points lead seems to be safe if you start to struggle or have DNFs towards the end of the championship. Yeah, the good news is, even though they finished off the podium for the first time this year, their nearest competitors didn't have great days. Brian Putt and Kenton Cook well down the order, and obviously we saw some retirements here as well today for Brandon Davis and Paul Terry. Helps
to mitigate the damage, and again, congratulations to Smooge Racing with another win. John Jesbray and Kevin Conway, the ex-NASCAR Rookie of the Year. What a pairing they've proven to be. By all accounts, they're ready to go again for next year. And there is the man of the hour, Bill Oberlin, adjusting the hair, making sure he's ready for the camera, ready for Amanda. Puts the Pirelli hat on, and I think Amanda is standing by with our overall winners, starting at least with Bill Oberlin.
Bill, on that last lap, you had a 15-second lead. Calvin Fish described it as you put on a clinic. How would you describe that drive for yourself?
I think Calvin's being pretty nice. I mean, it was easy. I was here a couple of weeks ago in a BMW Gt4, and it is so at home here on this beautiful Road America circuit. It knows how to get to victory lane. I just got to let it do its thing. It drove right to the front. My co-driver, James Walker, did what he does. Great job. Gave it to us in the front. Perfect pit stop. Off we went. The perfect day.
We've been talking about how the drivers find this track as fun. What's your favorite part?
My favorite part? Shoot, there's so many good. I like 13. If you have a good car in 13, you rip it through there, and also you put 2 wheels off. You're like, a little too much, but so fun.
Congratulations.
That kind of enthusiasm is what has made him such a fan favorite. There is his co-driver, James Walker Jr. Big result for them. If I'm not mistaken, that would be James' first overall win. I can't think of one, at least in GT4 machinery, through his career. And he's really come on strong in the last couple of seasons. And what a pairing these two make.
Yeah, it's really good. And as we said, it's all about the combination of both drivers. And James, as the AM partner in this car, did a superb job in qualifying this morning, admittedly in a shortened session, but you still got to execute and get the job done. He did that with, I think he qualified 11th overall, and then just a really nice opening stint.
Down to the pit lane once again. Let's hear from our silver class winners.
Well, he took the helmet off, and Christian said that was super fun. Describe the battle that you had there in the last couple of laps.
Oh, that was crazy. There were so many cars there. I didn't even know like what position I was in or what was going on. But it was a lot of fun.
When you think of we're halfway through the season at this point, you guys started with the second and third in points ahead of you. How important was this win?
It was, yeah, it's really important, I think. We weren't like incredibly optimistic going in because it seemed like we were a little bit off in qualifying, but I think what we learned is you just got to keep going in the race and just get every little thing you can out of it, and good things come your way.
I believe we can say you did that. Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Christian Shimshak, Kenny Murillo, the winners in Silver Cup. And Calvin, I think he brings up a great point. He's in the midst of that big battle, 5 or 6 cars fighting, all in different classes. How do you even know who you're racing against and which battle is for position, which one isn't?
Well, I think you're reliant on your pit box and the communication process there between the team manager or the engineer in terms of telling you, listen, you don't need to fight that car in front of you, but they're all racers. They all want to try and finish as far in front as they can or get the overall win like Billy Oberlin did and James Walker. But sometimes you think of the big picture. They have the championship lead in the silver class right now. Another win, they'll extend that points lead here tonight.
Win number 4 of the season in the AM class for Smooge Racing. Amanda has caught up with our AM class winners.
Kevin, in 7 races this season, you guys are the owner of 4 wins. What makes this pairing work so well?
You know, John has done an incredible job in his first year in the Pirelli Gt4 America Series, and we're excited to be here. This kid's got a ton of talent, even though he's got a very limited amount of experience, and we keep talking about that, but it's just incredible what he's been able to do. And I gotta tell you, the GR Super GT4 has been an amazing platform for us to learn and grow with, and so we're really thankful to Toyota and Jesbray Group and Cooper Natural Resources and Fuzi and everybody that allows John and I to come out and have fun. And it's a great championship day for the points, and just very thankful for the opportunity to be a part of this kid and his career, and I think you're going to be hearing a lot more of them in the future.
John, when you hear that from your teammate and you think of your own talent, what motivates you?
Well, I know that I have a lot more to learn than just about everywhere else or anyone else on the field. So it's I really have the most. I feel like I have a lot of room for improvement, and to be teamed up with him, I get to learn every race, and we're just improving. And throughout the year, we'll see where we stand. So
Congratulations on your 4th win.
thank you.
It's been a great season for them, a wild season so far, which has reached its halfway point. 7 down, 7 more to go, and the next one is coming up tomorrow for Pirelli GT4 America here at beautiful Road America. More coverage of the SRO America Championships coming your way still today, so don't go anywhere. Thanks so much for tuning in here at beautiful Road America.